Sure is looking like our police agencies, right on down to border protection and the guys that stamp your passports at the airport, are turning into hardcore right-wing Fox-watching trumpets. Check this out. Ding the bell, leave your comments, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. The radicalization of our military, of our police and military in the United States by Donald Trump and his buddies. And this concerns me tremendously. I mean, Trump, nakedly reaching out to police saying, hey, just instead of putting your hand on that guy's head when you're putting him in the police car, rough him up a little. Right? Remember that? And the police forces are like embarrassed, and we've got, he goes to see the troops and they put Trump badges on. You've got a police department in Minnesota now that is selling, cops for Trump T-shirts. But here's where it gets really bizarre. Customs and Border Protection, I'm not sure if ICE is a subset of CPB or if they are parallel to them. They both exist under the aegis of under the umbrella of the Department of Homeland Security. But when you come into this country from a foreign country, the guys that you see, who stamp your passport and stuff, that's Customs and Border Protection. They're the guys who protect our borders which is like separate from ICE. ICE is the guy, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE is the guys who are traveling around inside America looking for people who shouldn't be here and getting them and deporting them and caging them and all that kind of stuff. But this guy, Ben Watson, he's a reporter, right? And he's flying into he'd been outside the United States. He was in Denmark. And he's flying back into the U.S. He's an American citizen, and he's stopped at Dulles Airport by the customs guy, stamping his passport. And the guy says, what do you do for a living? He says, I'm a reporter. He's the news editor at this national security website, Defense One, which is not political, it's not partisan, it's about, military issues. And so the reporter, and this is from the Washington Post, the headline, journalist says a CPB officer withheld his passport until he agreed he writes propaganda. So here's this, basically a police officer, all of the police functions in the U.S. government, all of them, whether it's the border, whether it's internal to the FBI, whether it's external to CIA, all of the essentially police forces, all of the agencies that can carry a gun, all fall under the executive branch, under the Constitution. So they all basically work ultimately for the president. So this guy says to this reporter, he says to, this Border Patrol guy at Dulles Airport, says to Ben Watson, this reporter, he says, so you write propaganda, right? And Watson says, no, I'm a journalist. And then the officer said, but you write propaganda, right? And then Watson told the Washington Post, and I'm quoting here, with his tone, and he's looking me in the eye, I very much realize this is not a joke. And the guy's holding on to his passport. He said, I've never had a human attempt to provoke me like this before in my life. This behavior is totally normal now, I guess. That if a reporter, an American reporter, is flying back to the United States from Denmark, for God's sake, that the response of our Border Patrol is, oh, you're part of the fake news? I mean, Trump's got all these guys watching Fox News. Fox News, with affiliates all over the world. It's like, is Rupert Murdoch like creating all these autocracies? Or is that just too much of a giant conspiracy theory to even consider? What is actually going on here? Ben Watson, this reporter, told the Washington Post, he said, I've heard, this is in the third person. Watson said he heard a couple of stories. This is from the Washington Post piece by Hannah Knowles. By Hannah Knowles, WashingtonPost.com. Watson said he heard a couple stories of similar encounters in the past, but said he did not realize until sharing his experience at Dulles on social media just how many people in the field, in other words, his colleagues, other reporters, are reporting the same brand of harassment. U.S. airport border agents were at the center of several incidents that have raised reporters' concerns this year. Now, the Department of Homeland Security says, oh, yeah, we're going to look into this. But the guy who's the head editor at this website, Defense One, where this reporter, Ben Watson, writes, he says, we're disappointed and concerned that any U.S. official would question a journalist or any citizen in this way. And in fact, another reporter who's a green card, a permanent resident, Vera Bergengruen, says this has happened to me coming back into this country too. Last year, pretty aggressive question about who I worked for and whether it was, quote, fake news, end quote. Also, when you're not a U.S. citizen, I'm a permanent resident, this takes on a much more threatening tone because they could deny you entry. The Washington Post reports a growing list of journalists have been startled by government officials' harassment in a country that is supposed to prize freedom of the press. The encounters are raising fears that hostile rhetoric by President Trump and his allies are damaging reporters' ability to do their job unhindered. This is how you turn a democracy into an autocracy. And then, it's a war crime for troops to shoot at civilians unless we're in war, and even then, it's a war crime to shoot at civilians unless those civilians are specifically endangering the troops. If they're shooting at you, then you can shoot back. But that's it. And here's Trump saying that soldiers should shoot civilians in the legs at our southern border. Now, keep in mind, this is Customs and Border Protection, who is interrogating journalists about whether they're writing fake news. The Minneapolis Police Union announced it's going to be selling Cops for Trump T-shirts. Stars and Stripes and the state of Minnesota on it, and with the badges of 3 different law enforcement agencies. The Fraternal Order of Police, a police group in Washington, D.C., 11,000 police officers, they reserved Trump International for a night in early December for their Christmas party. They say tickets cost $175 a couple plus $200 if you want a room in the Trump Hotel. Join us for a night of celebration surrounded by elegance. There's a couple of the police, kind of sub-departments who are pushing back, but man, is Trump building his Gestapo?